Hi everybody, Geoffrey Dolan here. A pleasure being here with Action Activate. There's only one thing to say. It's morphin' time. Yeah.
Here we come! Hello, I'm Gazbot, and welcome to Action Activate. And if this is Action Activate, then with me as always, of course...
Hey, it's your boy, the Big Dog Defender, just like how Gazbot likes...
Why would you start that way? We have with us legendary veteran voice actor and face actor, Geoffrey Dolan. Oops, hold on. I gotta bring him in. Hold on. There he is. Hello, sir.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, how are we?
Good,
doing
how are you?
Right. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. I'm in the unusual situation of having gotten my time slightly awry, and so I'm doing this sitting in the front seat of my Ford Ranger.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have a Ford as well, so we're similar in that instance.
Nice.
But you should go get in your Ford so that you guys can bond over.
I know, I can.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. We have a lot of people in chat are very excited to speak to you as well as us.
Right, cool.
Thank you so much. Well, for those that don't know, and I think most people here do you want to just sort of give a brief who you are, what you've done in Power Rangers, who are you? I know, but they might not.
Yeah, sure. So, Geoffrey Dolan, I'm a New Zealand actor and have been acting for nearly 40 years now, pretty much non-stop. And Power Rangers is certainly part of my menu of productions I've been a part of. And according to Blake Davenport, I've been apparently one of the longest-serving ones on the show. I think I did my first ever character, which was an acting character in 2003. Might have even been 2002. I did it, and it came out in 2003. So, yeah, and I literally just submitted an audition today for another character for the latest series.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, awesome.
The first season was Ninja Storm, right? That you were on?
You'd know better than me.
Yes, I confirmed it was Ninja Storm.
Okay.
Yes, I've said it on a few other things. The funny part about this whole connection with Power Rangers is New Zealand has very little to do with it other than producing it and performing it. Until very recently, it didn't screen here.
Right, yeah, so like 2010 or something like that, it started showing finally.
I'm not aware of it even being that late. I tripped over it last year when I was just channel surfing on our main channels. We might have been able to view it on one of our pay-per-view or streaming channels.
Oh, right, yeah.
Sky through Disney or something like that. But it hasn't been on any of our main network shows channels over here until late last year. It came up.
That's got to be so surreal to be working on such a big show and like nobody sees it basically.
No, yeah. And so our awareness of the whole structure and the stories and the sequence and the different Mystic Force, etc., Ninja, we just haven't followed it, and we're just so far behind on it unless we involved with the production heavily. As a voice artist, you get sent the scenes you are doing, and you don't get to see the rest of the story, so you don't actually see the episode you're even involved in. Right,
and that's got to actually be extra hard because you need to generate the emotion, the voice, and all that stuff based on like a tiny snippet. You don't even get to know the whole context.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I mean, we get it's improved over the years. We get better and better information nowadays, and even today, when I did this little audition, we got a real nice synopsis of what the character's progress is going to be, and what sort of character they're really looking for, and it gave you context for the audition because you only do really a page for an audition, just for them to get a flavour of what you can do. But when it comes to the series, they're getting better now. When you start the series, that you get told a little bit about the flow, but within the context of the whole series, or within even that episode, you don't really understand how that storyline flows through. So it's quite unique.
And awesome. So when you went in today, if you can answer this, did they show you an image of the character that you were auditioning for, or did they not even show you that?
And I'm on the road at the moment, so I had to self-record it. So I didn't get to see an image. I just got to see the synopsis briefing and the character breakdown. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's even
harder.
Well, yeah.
Well, here's hoping you get it.
Yeah, right. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
This is the Big Dog, by the way. He's my co-host. You guys haven't officially met, but
hello. I know a lot of stuff on the fly, but I mean, I've seen I think more of you than me for sure, and you seem pretty easy to chat with. So glad we get to.
Yeah, we both watched the one you did with on the Morphin Network, and so we
right,
we both feel like we know you now.
Okay. Hopefully I can answer some new questions or some different ones.
That's part of the reason we watched it, was so that we didn't want to reproduce all the exact same questions,
Right.
which will be difficult because some people are, they're watching are going to want to know the same stuff. But
That's all right.
well, actually, Big Dog, you want to start off? You got a question?
Yeah. In regards to obviously being on so many different seasons, is there one kind of particular moment where you were either getting ready for a character or in the midst of doing voices for a character where you're like, it really hit you, like kind of the impact you're having on Power Rangers as a whole?
I don't think I really became aware of that until these interviews started occurring last year during COVID, during that outbreak of COVID. And Blake Allen got in touch, and then Ryan got in touch wanting to do interviews, and just through their questioning and their description of the conventions and the following, that's where I became really aware of, like, wow, this is just at a completely different level than what I was aware of or expecting. So yeah, I suppose that's more where it became sort of personally aware. There was an instance not long ago, started last year when I came up. I was actually out of town working, and I flew up to do a day on one of those little cameos that I've done in the last couple of years as the janitor or the courier guy.
Right.
And one of the producers came up to me and said, "Oh, I got in touch with you. I thought you did such a great job last time. You're so fun. I really wanted to get you back." And that was like really sort of humbling to go, "Well, cool. Okay, I obviously have had an impact."
Oh, I think you're breaking up a little bit there, Geoffrey. Uh-oh. Big Dog, you still with us?
I am, yeah. I think it was just a little
Turbulence.
connection, turbulence, a good word for it. Yeah,
Geoffrey?
we can hear you. It's just a little bit choppy right now.
You cut out a little bit at the end there, yeah. Maybe not. All right, well, let's Geoffrey? Well, maybe he'll unfreeze or call back. Let me check the chat while we Evox followed us here. I didn't even believe.
I know.
Oh, okay.
He did mention the last season, so it is fitting that Beast Morphers makes its return, whether we asked for it or not, right?
It's true.
And then that technically makes it like a Power Ranger Sentai thing.
It doesn't make it a Sentai. Sentai means team or squad. But anyway, we don't have time to argue about this because Mr. Geoffrey Dolan is returning right now. Hello, sir.
Boom! You're back.
Hey,
I'm back.
We did it.
Yeah. And sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
That's all right. Thank you for persevering.
I know.
Many a lesser man would have just said, "Forget it. We're done with this."
Out of here. Technology.
We were saying, of all the reasons to have technical difficulties, taking the Power Rangers audition from your vehicle is definitely top of the list. That gets the pass in our book, if anything, right?
Yeah, it's not exactly I overslept or something.
Yeah, saving a bunch of people, doing a Power Rangers audition, both close in tier, very very similar.
All right. Well, let's get back on track here with Mr. What I might do, actually, because this is live right now, but when we're done, I might cut this together and have a recorded version without all our chit chat in between, so it'll make a little more sense for people. So let's go back to the beginning. You kind of introduced yourself already. One of the questions that I didn't see you asked on the Morphin Network, at least, although it seems like a question you probably get asked a lot, but I'm interested, is how did you get into acting? Because I feel like I've talked to a lot of different actors, and they all kind of have a different story of what got them there. And so I'd be interested to hear yours.
Sure. So, I mean, I always did it through my school days and stuff. I was always in school productions and bits and pieces. But I was more along the trail of becoming a sportsman, a rugby player, an All Black. I don't know
nice.
Yeah, so I was a pretty good athlete in my day. Yeah, obviously haven't let that hang around long. And so I was doing the rugby thing and the sports thing, and still dabbling and doing local theatre and bits and pieces. Then I played against a few of these guys that were All Blacks and realised. Maybe not. So So it didn't stop me playing, but it just made me refocus. And then I was working. I'd been a bank teller for a wee while, and then I was working for a Cadbury chocolate company.
I love Cadbury.
Yeah, I don't anymore.
I was going to say,
that's an easy way to get you off it, right?
I used to work at a movie theater. I didn't eat popcorn for years afterwards.
Yeah,
I know
right.
what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, but while I was there, a friend of mine who was doing a show with got in touch and said, "Look, they're doing this play in town at the professional theatre, and you go. It's a New Zealand play. It's about rugby."
Oh.
And it was it was a huge production. It was a very well-known show here. It was called Foreskin's Lament, which that sounds unusual to international people, I know, but Foreskin was the nickname of one of the characters in the show.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
New Zealand's, and especially rugby, have a very strong penchant for giving everyone nicknames that are maybe
as it were,
slightly obscene or wrong. So so that was.
There you go.
I played a character called Mean, and he was called Mean because he was actually a really nice guy, and the guy was actually the really nasty guy. He was called Clean. So it's just New Zealand's way of messing with you.
Right.
And basically, I went to. She gave me the number of a guy who was a professor of drama at the local university to call because he was directing the show. So I rang him and talked to him for a while and stuff, and he was talking away. His name, he was Welsh, so he had this lovely Welsh accent going on, and talking to me all like this, but he just seemed fairly uninspired because I hadn't done anything. I'd done some school shows and stuff,
right?
And he said to me at one point, he says, "Do you know anything about rugby?" And I said, "Rugby, yeah." He says, "I said, I play rugby," and he says, "Oh, what do you mean you play it?" I said, "Well, I'm a senior first rugby player, which is the highest level you can play in the city." And also a rep rugby player, age grade rep rugby player, and all of a sudden his tone changed because he had this person who wanted to act but actually knew about rugby too.
Right. Yeah, that's an unusual combo, probably.
Yeah. So it sort of transpired. Long story short, he put me in touch with the guy that was going to direct it. Mm-hmm. When I rang him and told him I played rugby, he couldn't have given two hoots, and said just send me your CV and your photograph, which totally disillusioned me, and I never did. Here's the good bit. Some months later, my old high school leading lady from shows I'd done rang my work and left a message for me to call her urgently. I called her. It just transpires that she was in a drama class with said first person I rang, who was saying this guy had called and they can't find him for the audition for the show. And she said, "What's his name?" And he said, "Geoffrey Dolan." And she goes, "I know Geoffrey Dolan." And so she said, "Ring downstage the theatre immediately." Which I did. I went in the next day, auditioned for the director, and the next day I was cast.
That's awesome.
So it was a real, and things like that kept happening to me in the early days. So I wasn't sure whether it's what I wanted to do. Out of that show, some other older actors took me up to another theatre further up the island to introduce me to their friend who was the director there. We went to the theatre to do an audition. He wasn't there. It turns out he was playing indoor cricket. At a local bloody sports stadium. So we went down there. I sat with him for 10 minutes and talked.
Right.
And then went, "Okay, cool, and see you later." And we went away. Went away to Auckland for 2 months, left my flat, came back to Wellington, was working for about a month, went back to my old flat after 3 months of not being there to pick up some of my stuff I left behind. The phone rings. I pick it up, and it's the director from this other theatre up the road going, "Hi, do you want to be in our play?" And I went, "How many times have you rung this number?" And he said, "Oh, this is the first time."
Wow.
Jeez, if ever there was a sign.
Yeah, exactly right. So I just went, "Yeah, someone's telling me this is what I'm supposed to be doing." So, wow. I haven't done anything else. So, yeah.
That's. I'm really glad I asked. That's a great story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So pretty much it's just stumbled along. Started 9 years of non-stop around the country professional theatre, doing what they call back-to-back. So you'd rehearse the show during the day, and then you'd put it on, and then the following Monday, once that show was on at night, you'd start rehearsing the next show during the day.
Now, I've heard of that before. How do you keep it straight? Like, because I feel like it's hard enough to memorize one play and everything you have to do, but like two at the same time, like.
Yeah. No, it's just part of the. It was part of the system here and part of the training, and you just got very used to it. And I did that for, as I say, pretty much 8 or 9 years non-stop. So, and quite often you'd close the show on the Saturday night, you'd dress rehearse the following Friday night. You'd tech all week, so you'd have Sunday off. 10 o'clock on Monday, you'd be in the theatre starting the technical rehearsals, which were really long. They were 10 till 10 at night with lights and sound and costume, etc. You'd do your first dress rehearsal maybe the Thursday or the Friday, and then you'd open again the following Saturday. And that was just non-stop. So, yeah.
I guess, though, it's sort of like going to boot camp. You do that for a few years. Any other acting job's got to be a cakewalk.
Right, yeah. It gave great grounding and characterization, of focus, of being able to watch so many other actors, because you're on stage generally with anything from 6 to 20 other actors. You get to meet a wide variety of talent and characterization, and so it gives you great grounding. So and that again helps with the things like doing voice acting and stuff to create different characters. As does the improvisation stuff I do, the whose line is it anyway style of. I'm a highly experienced theatre sports improviser.
That's awesome.
From Canada, so that sort of stuff too is giving great grounding for creating characters, creating voices on the spot, or once you're working with directors and producers to develop them.
Right. Yeah. Especially, I can imagine that happening in the voice booth too. If they're like, give us another take or try this, you're ready to go, because that's awesome.
It also, it's just quite coincidental that the two people I've worked with predominantly over the last 10, 15 years in the recording studio, Jim McClarty, who's been the predominant voice director in our studios, and then Laurie Dungy, who has now taken over from Jim, but Jim's still heavily involved. They are both improvising and theatre sports colleagues of mine. So we can work really quickly and closely together. And I understand them really quickly when they're telling me, hey, you want to try that? Imagine this. And I know what they're talking about and can get into it very quickly.
You have that shorthand and comment out. That's great.
Yeah.
So have you found with the theater experience, especially doing that kind of unique take on that, did that help you just become that much more efficient in the voice booth?
Yeah, I'd say the improvisation side of things was probably more helpful with that, because it allowed me to think on my feet a lot quicker. The stage work definitely gave me that real grounding in character, and being strong in that character, how to project that character, how to think about the limited information we do get and what that tells me about the sort of person as such the character is. Where their weaknesses are, their strengths are, what people say about them, what they say about themselves, all that sort of stuff, that sort of various acting techniques that you learn to really embody your characters more fully. So the stage stuff helps there. The improvisation stuff helps with on-the-spot stuff in the studio. And then, of course, the experience of being in there, at first we were all a bit goofy and a bit starstruck about what we're doing in front of this microphone,
Yeah.
How far away do I stand? And, whereas now you just walk in and whack on the cans, and you can even arrange your own microphone and go for it, and it all works very, very smoothly now.
That's
one
awesome.
thing for your characters. Is there any character Power Ranger related that you felt was just like easy? You maybe one-taked it on how you were going to portray that character going forward, or some that maybe you had a little bit harder time getting?
I think
the feel for.
Korag was a really easy one. Korag just clicked, and it was a good description. The image that I did see just was such a strong image. It enabled me to really get into that really quickly. Gosei was another one, sort of flipped the other side, where it was a really nice treat to go from being this evil, dastardly character to having this. I can't remember if the instruction or the character description was exactly this, but it kind of came across to me as Californian surfer, and so they just wanted him to be that sort of laid back, cool, unshakable mentor. So that sort of, and it was great fun to also be able to, here's the boy. Play a character where it didn't ruin my voice every time I went to the studio. Korag,
I can imagine that for sure.
There was a beast on the vocal cords, Korag, I can tell you.
We have a question somebody sent us when they knew you were going to be on that isn't here now. Matt Kendall Claire wanted to know, how did you get the on-screen appearance, this is Power Rangers again, of the race official in the Ninja Storm finale? Any interesting stories with any of how you actually, because you actually, in that one, you actually got to film with the main cast and you were on the set. So I guess they just want to know how that happened and what your experience was.
The race official, how long ago was this? Which was
this would have been probably the first one we did. So
that was, I would have auditioned, we're talking 20 years ago, nearly. Right. So, I would have auditioned through and and again, it's just as with any audition, it is the directors, producers watch and they say that's the right look for what we want, and the accent's good, and let's go for it. So yeah, there's certainly wasn't any casting couch involved, or any special favors done, because that a long way from here to LA. So yeah.
And that was your first spot on Power Rangers, was doing face acting as opposed to voice. Which, it's funny because we've talked to a few voice actors, and it seems like usually they do the voice first, and then maybe they get a chance to be on set. But you kind of went the other way, it seems. Yeah,
I'm not sure, because it's in the earlier days, like there was more Americans cast in the main roles, and it was easy to bring people in and out.
Right.
And Lord of the Rings had made that very easy to do, and the previous stuff. And we had Xena and Hercules, of course. And so they would predominantly bring in.
You were on Xena a little bit?
Yeah, I did one episode of Xena, and I did about 4 or 5 of Hercules. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Still in touch with Kevin Sorbo, and we used to play golf together a lot when he was over here and when he'd visit.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, so we'd sort of become used to them importing the main talent. But then they sort of just started loosening up a bit. So, yeah, just the opportunity for locals to be used. And then, of course, quite a few locals then ended up getting cast as Rangers themselves, which was great. Poor Trevor, rest his soul, and the likes moving forward. So, and the likes of Katrina and stuff being used as sort of the arch characters. So, yeah.
Another question I had is, because you do an American accent as well. Yeah. Was that something you got in theater, or did you specifically train for that so that you could do American shows, or how did that come about?
Yeah, no, because a lot of the shows we did over those years were American shows, so we became very comfortable with the American accent. And when you're doing an American accent for a New Zealand audience, they don't really have a concept of whether you're doing the vowels properly or whether you're doing it the right. Even the right state, But we did shows, not that I was in it, but things like. What's the one I'm thinking of? Set out of Steel Magnolias, and
gotcha.
Really specific sort of accent. And man, the girls that did that, just that fantastic sort of, they really did their study into that whole Louisiana accent. The majority of the shows you do, they tend to just keep it as sort of neutral American. We call it neutral American, Californian American.
Right.
But I've just done a movie over here that they're filming that's based in Texas. So we had to do the Texan accent. I've done New York accents for a long time. So
what's your favorite American accent to do?
I love doing the New York thing, So they just slip under that. But when you're doing Rangers, they don't want that.
No, probably not. Although that would be kind of cool. Like, what are you doing? I'm the Green Ranger over here.
You just don't want to play it, okay? Just leave me alone, will you? Oh, jeez.
All right, we got to talk to Hasbro. We got a new Ranger, Geoffrey Dolan.
Yeah. Well, I've already got. We were talking before, Big Dog. You got the Ford, so I got the Ford Ranger Wild Track, right? And the big black one. It's got all the bloody. I've had it boot kitted out a bit. And I don't know if you've seen. Someone liked it on my fan page. I've got a photograph up there of it. And so it's called the Black Ranger or the Thor Ranger. Because
I saw that on your Facebook fan page. Yeah. And you were saying it's for Power Rangers, but also for Thor. Oh, well, let's talk about Thor, because probably most of our viewers don't know what that is. I've done my research, so I do. So
it's a New Zealand production called The Almighty Johnsons, and it's based on the premise of 4 brothers being descended from the Norse gods. That when the gods escaped Asgard after the war with the humans, that they escaped to the various places around the world centuries ago, and a whole pile of them found their way to New Zealand. And the 4 brothers, the reincarnation over the years of one of the gods. Loki is there, Balder, Bragi, and of course the main character being Odin. And their mission is to find Frigg, Odin's wife, to get them back together. And there we go. There's me as Eric, the goat farmer, who is the incarnation of Thor. And Thor doesn't like Johnny Lee on the left there. He's a giant, although he's not a very big giant. He's just a reincarnation of one. And Odin in the middle there is Axel. So he's the main character. So so the point was, you've got to find Frigg, reconnect the 2 of them, and then we all get our powers back.
having not been able to watch this because I looked on Netflix. It's not on American Netflix. It's not. It might be available, but maybe you got to buy the DVDs or whatever. I couldn't find it quick enough to watch it before we talked to you. So I'm curious why it seems like Odin, who would be the father of Thor, seems younger. The actor seems younger than you are. So how does that explain?
That was going to be my question as well.
As I say, so the characters are they're reincarnated. So another person would have carried the being of Odin until he passed away, and Odin's essence would have gone back into the atmosphere. And then what happens is when someone from a godly parentage, so young Axel's 3 older brothers were all gods, and they knew Axel would become a god, but it doesn't happen until their 21st birthday. They go out to the woods and do the ceremony, and then all of a sudden he is invested with the spirit of a god. They're not sure which one. And then another character there, which they call Grandpa, who was their mentor, their seer, and he tells them which god he is. And so on his 21st birthday, obviously Odin was free, invested him, and he became Odin. So he became the leader of them.
Gotcha.
Even though he still had to listen to his older brothers on certain elements, he could also turn around and go, "Hey, I'm Odin. I'm doing this," and they would go, "Fair enough."
I didn't make this. I saw somebody else did it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's good.
Thor Dark World. Because actually you're talking about where you just use a regular hammer as Thor. Like, there's no Mjolnir. I think that's hysterical. Like, I got to find a way to watch this show. And I looked because I saw
it on your sci-fi channel.
Maybe. I don't have regular cable anymore personally. I know Big Dog. Have you seen it on Sci-Fi?
I have not. No, Sci-Fi is another one that there's like a handful of networks over here that, depending on which streaming package you have, some are bundled in some and not others, and that one
but
is
what
was on Netflix, because when I was in San Francisco late 2019, it was another fun story. I was in the foyer of the Diva Hotel, I think it was called, and in San Fran, and I'd just gotten changed. I was waiting for my Uber to take me to the airport to bring me back to New Zealand, and I was talking to the desk clerk in the bellhop, and after about 5 minutes, this bellhop turned around and says, "Excuse me, sir," he says, "Have you ever been on TV?" And I was like, "Yeah, back home." And he says, "Were you on a show called The Almighty Johnsons?" And I was like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And he said, "I was watching a Thor movie on Netflix, and when it finished, it came up with you like that? You might want to watch this." And The Almighty Johnsons was under it. And he said, "I've watched the series 3 times. You are awesome."
That's great, man.
Just all he'd done is heard my voice and was going, "That voice sounds really familiar."
That's fantastic.
Yeah, very funny.
Well, like I said, it's definitely not on Netflix now, unfortunately, because I literally tried to watch it. But what I was going to say is, watching the other interview talking to you, I want people at home to know, like, of course he's going to say it's good and we're going to be nice and say, "Oh, it sounds good." But I looked on Rotten Tomatoes and it's got like high 80s, low 90s for both the critic score and the viewer score. So people who've seen it like it. So it's not just, we're not, so I'm even more excited to see it now.
Yeah, cool. It's a bit of a comic drama. So it's a bit of a romp. The boys do stupid stuff. The goddesses are opposed to them finding Frigg, so they're doing everything they can to interfere with the boys' efforts to try and find the goddess Frigg.
Right.
And so there's lots of funny comic play back and forth on that. There's dark moments. The second series is quite dark. Excuse me. Dino Gorman, who plays one of the main characters, Bragi, he got cast in the Hobbit movies and had to disappear for a year. And so they had to film him in very isolated moments.
Oh, gotcha.
The flow of the story. And they were going to shut the show down after 2 seasons, but the fan sort of revolt at the end of that got the 3rd season happening, which was quite fun. So yeah,
that's awesome.
And so I just appear in 1 episode per series when Odin needs some ass kicking done. So yeah,
you're the muscle.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Doing a bit of ass kicking. So.
Well, all that rugby experience has got to come into play there too.
Yeah, I'm a man. So yeah.
Big Dog, you got another question you want to throw out?
Yeah, in regards to kind of what you were saying with I know it was half a joke with the rugby experience, was there any acting job that you did have to, kind of get that deja vu and utilize some of your previous rugby training or footwork or something where you're like, "Oh, it's really good, I did that," and then it came in handy for a shoot?
Yeah, definitely. I did a movie not long ago, a New Zealand movie called The Kick. And The Kick is based around the World Cup. Like, New Zealand is seen as the pinnacle of world rugby, right? It's the All Blacks are fairly internationally known as this amazing foot rugby team, and America probably knows a little bit about rugby and how these guys play football without pads and helmets, and still hit each other as hard. And the All Blacks have been the epitome of world rugby for many, many years. The first Rugby World Cup that was played in 1987, New Zealand won that World Cup. Every 4 years subsequently, we didn't. And this would for yearly cause major heartache to New Zealanders throughout the world, to the point where if we lost a final or a semi-final, there would literally be an economic depression in the country for 3 months afterwards.
Wow.
Because people were sad, they would stop going to work, their productivity would drop, etc., etc.
And here I was thinking because people were losing bets.
Yeah, bit of that. But they just their productivity dropped off. They were sad, mope around. So 2011 came around. We hosted the World Cup again for the first time, second time, but since '87, and so the press was right on. We win the World Cup, 8-7, 8 points to 7, just an absolutely titanic match. And the weight of the world was off our shoulders, and we partied like it's 1999. During that process, there was a great sort of you'd call it folklore. Our pivotal player, our first 5'8", was the world's best first 5'8". He gets injured partway through the start of it. Our backup first 5'8" comes in. It's like the quarterback position, really. Our backup comes in that same match, the following match, he gets injured.
Oh, geez.
During the following 2 games, the third backup gets injured, and our reserve halfback, who's a bit like, he's a bit of a distributor too, but he's sort of more connected to the defensive line. He has to step back into that role and play that role. Meanwhile, they're trying to get hold of this other character, this other guy who plays the first 5 role. He didn't think he had a chance because he was 4th or 5th string, so he's gone on holiday. He's in the bush upstream fishing out of communication. After 7 days, he comes back and all of a sudden his phone lights up. There's 32 phone calls from the coach of the All Blacks rugby team going, "Get your ass to camp. We need you." He turns up not even 20 minutes into the final. The 5th All Black first 5'8" breaks down and he gets put on the field. He hasn't trained the team. He hasn't done anything. The jersey he is wearing doesn't fit. They've got these sort of these high-tech, bloody non-stretch. He pulls it on, and when he's running around, it's riding up over his tummy because it just keeps pulling out because it doesn't fit him. And his captain keeps going up to him going, "Pull your friggin' shirt down. You look like a dick." He gets the first penalty. He has to kick this penalty, and this has been a major issue of his over the years, his kicking ability. That's why he's not the number 1 choice. He slots the kick, gives us the lead. We win 8-7. They sort of try and say that it was because of him that we won it. He scored the first points, but someone else scored a try that got us the 8 points, and then everyone held it off for the last half hour. But he becomes this absolute legend who was upstream fishing.
Right.
Yeah, with 6 days' notice, comes on and kicks a winning goal in the World Cup.
Yeah, because that's a more interesting story than everybody just did their part and tried.
Exactly, right?
That's fun.
Yeah.
Was made about his progress and lack of progress, and I played the All Black assistant coach at the time.
Nice.
So my knowledge of Steve Hansen, who then went on to become the World Cup coach and won the World Cup in 2015 as well. And so, again, my knowledge of rugby and that experience with acting combined to create a very fun role and a very a fun production.
That's very cool. And had to be fun for you as such a fan too. Sorry?
I said, sorry about the long answer. There's probably a whole lot of Americans sitting there going, "What the hell did he just say?"
No, I do like unintentionally just, learning more about you. It started, how you got into acting was you played rugby, and then there was a play about rugby.
There's a through line here.
And then it was like, hey, how did that help you? Well, in this movie I was in about rugby, ties it back in without even trying. So that's great, man. I love that kind of thing.
And I'll tell you something else. I am not into sports at all. I'm not even into American sports.
Yeah, he had no idea what you were talking about.
No, but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter because I love sports movies.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Like any sport movie, because I love the drama and you get to see the people and stuff. So the part of sports that I like is the parts that you just told me. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I don't want to watch a game every week, but if I know that they're down in the dirt and then the guy and the coach is like, "Hey, that's the part I like." So I would like that movie. Rocky's one of my favorite movies. I've never watched it.
It was like a boys' own adventure for me too, because being an All Black is the absolute pinnacle for every Kiwi kid when you're growing up and playing rugby. When you don't become one, you sit back and admire those guys. It's like be like the NFL guys. If you're in the NFL or NHL or NBA, whatever. And so then to get the opportunity to portray one of these guys and sit in their seat for a while, wear their shoes, wear their suit, literally go to the changing rooms where they fit it out for the final game, go to the training facilities that they used, be clothed by the brands and the sponsors that clothed them. Right. They were sponsored by Adidas. Adidas remade all the stuff for us retro style to match.
That's so cool.
Yeah. The big suit manufacturer over here who sponsored their main match suits and stuff for afterwards. They remade all the suits for us to wear in the movie. So we got to hold the World Cup. It had a security
actual World Cup.
Yeah.
That's
so they brought it out. They had a security guard with it. It was wrapped in a towel. We weren't allowed to take photos or anything with it. It's that protected.
Oh wow!
And it's only allowed to be touched by the winning teams and captains of the winning teams. They got permission for us to use their one. So that was wrapped. They'd call roll cameras, set. The security guard would take the towel off it and give it to whoever had to hold it. And then we'd go into the change rooms, do the final scene when we'd won it, and we were passing around and drinking out of it. So I got to hold it, drink champagne out of this World Cup. And then as soon as it was cut, the towel would come in and wrap it up so that no one could get a photograph or anything with it. So,
What's funny though is I was thinking, that's a shame you couldn't get a photo, but you have a movie where you're drinking out of it. That's kind of better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't make the cut.
Oh no!
Bonus features in the DVD maybe
didn't make the cut. I don't think so. Yeah. So it's everyone else has got it, but I didn't quite make the cut myself. So yeah, but I know it. So.
Exactly. You lived it. The next best thing. Out of all the retro gear that you that they had made for that movie, did you get to keep any or no? Like any of the?
No, that was a shame. We were under such strict rules on that. We weren't allowed to even take photos, selfies, or anything during production because it was such a secret production. They didn't want any info getting out about who was playing what and what was going on. So I literally put a photograph up of me and three guys sitting in the stands. I think we might have been wearing costume, but it wasn't any specific sort of costume. We were there watching a game, so we're pretty neutral. And I did a selfie of the three of us as the characters and just went, here's me at work, Didn't say anything, didn't mention where it was. The next morning I had the producer online to me saying, take that down right now or we'll have you for breaching.
So
yeah.
I feel like that kind of level of pressure, though, did it make it a little bit more surreal for you where you're like, I can't even, in a plain T-shirt, sit in the stands and tell everybody this project is just so impactful.
Yeah, it made me squirm a little bit because I just went, there's nothing wrong with what I did. There was nothing wrong with the image. It didn't give away anything. But I suppose they just didn't want the, there's Ryan. Hey, Ryan. Just they didn't want anything sort of leaked so that they kind of preempted their marketing and stuff. So I see it from that point of view. I also found it a little bit petty, but with the World Cup and stuff, I can understand that because it's a special trophy, and there are like the football World Cup, the FIFA World Cup. Same thing. Only the captains and the players of the team and officials that win it can touch it. So it's to be given that privilege was. Very humbling, but also like, I would have loved a photo, but never mind.
That's awesome. And again, I can appreciate the specialness, even though I'm not a fan of rugby. I get it. I absolutely get it. Cool. Speaking of Ryan, from the Morphin Network, they want to know Daishi or Korag.
Korag all the way. Sorry. Yeah.
I think most people would agree. I'm a big Jungle Fury fan, so Daishi is from Jungle Fury, so you would think I would pick that, but I do acknowledge that Korag is probably the more interesting of the two roles you did, at least.
Yeah, it was great fun for me to do too. I was very disappointed that I didn't go on to become the human form.
That was a question I was going to ask that I don't think they asked you. When you did Daishi, you only did the demon form or the monster form, whatever you want to call it. Did you watch at all? The name of the actor is escaping who played the human form. Did you see how he did it to try to? No, not at all. Would you have wanted to, or you didn't want to be influenced?
We weren't even aware of it.
Okay,
gotcha.
I got the part, got the scripts. That was it. I wasn't really told that there was a human form forthcoming or having been. So yeah, no.
Oh, that's funny, and that's funny because the monster came kind of after, like we saw like the last few episodes. So they must have intentionally not, because they didn't want you to maybe be the same as what he did or something.
Quite possibly, yeah, quite possibly. Although there may have been a presumption that we had some awareness of it, but within the I don't think there would be, because the production takes 9 months to edit and put together at least before it goes to air. So we wouldn't have even been able to watch anything even if it was on air. So. Yeah,
it would have to be the kind of thing where you'd sit down with the other actor, and that's so hard to. Yeah, it probably is better that way because it's supposed to be two different characters. Like the other version is like the possessed guy, not the So, I don't know. I'll ask this from one of our viewers. I don't know if you'll be able to do it, but it says if you could be, I think they mean to say, if you could be any Power Rangers villain, who would you be? Which might, as you said, be difficult since you haven't watched a lot of Power Rangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any? Yeah, are you even aware of any Ranger villains that you haven't played that you would?
Not hugely, no, because as I say, I just have never watched the show because it's just never been accessible for us.
Right.
It possibly has been online, but I'm not a big streaming person, and it's let's be honest. Yeah, I'm 56. It's not my demographic.
Right. Well, I think it's also a thing too where, even if it was started being available, let's say 10 years ago, which is what I heard. That's and we're all Ranger fans here, so I'm not putting it down. But the heyday was the 90s. That's when everyone fell in love with it. Yeah, so coming on now, I've heard similar stories where in China, Star Wars isn't that popular because it wasn't there in the 70s and 80s, and they got it later, and they're like, "What's the big deal?" And I feel like maybe that's how it is with New Zealand. Like, okay, it's fine, but they didn't have the love affair that other countries did with it.
Yeah, no, we had it in those days. We literally got banned from screen tiers.
Oh, so you had it, and then it left.
Yeah.
Wow.
I forget when, but yeah, I remember hearing that it was banned there for a reason or
I thought you never had
the violence in the playgrounds, and so they banned it, and it never came back in. And so, as I say, when it came back, it might have been 2010. It might have come back to streaming channels through Disney and other and Nickelodeon. But certainly didn't make our mainstream channels free.
I kind of love that, though, that basically your country is saying, hey, look, we'll make this stuff and poison other people's kids, but not our kids. We'll take your money. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the trick of the day for those guys too. That the producers then would travel different countries every year. They'd go and make a new deal and go to countries to get new scenery, whatever. But then they got to New Zealand and went, why would we move again? So it's been quite nice that they've stayed for nearly 20 years, and it's certainly been a bonus for us, economy wise and income wise and experience wise with the international market. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, let me ask you this: you said have you been able to watch any of your performances, even like you were on Beast Morphers as the janitor, right? And that one, have you even seen that?
No.
I can put it on for you right now if you'd like to see it.
Sure. Yeah.
I just happen to have it because that is on Netflix, unlike the Mighty Johnsons. Let me see. Let me turn. Actually, you don't have any dialogue, I don't think, but I'll put the sound.
No,
all right. There we go.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah. Moonwalk. Yes.
Oops.
What do I do? Yeah. Oh no, everything looks all right. Yeah, nothing wrong here. Here I go again.
I love the antenna on the headphones.
Yeah, from 1973.
Yeah, he's old class. Yeah,
he just did a force field, but there's still the antenna coming out.
Yeah. He's got no idea what he's done. He's just living the dream.
Did they tell you to dance, or was that your own thing?
Well, that was what they wanted. Yeah, that was. I had to audition and do all that too.
Oh, really? They had to see you do a, for lack of a better term, a goofy dance.
Yeah. I was actually in Christchurch, rehearsing for another production of a show, and it was. So it's literally this time 2 years ago. I did that because I don't know if you heard about the terror attack over here. That when the lone gunman went around and shot 51 people in 2 Muslim mosques in Christchurch.
Oh.
I was in Christchurch rehearsing for a play that ended up getting cancelled because of that incident happening. It only happened about 500 meters down the road from where we were rehearsing. We got locked down for 7 hours. So I did the audition very early days. I actually did that in the audition space of the Court Theatre, and then they said yes, and I flew up during that time to go and film it. So so it was 2 years ago around now.
That's so, and for us, that was not that long ago that we just saw it, like a couple months ago. It feels like.
Okay, so that's okay.
Related, not to the shooting, but to the dancing scene.
Yes.
There was an episode in Beast Morphers where they showed older villains on a screen, and Korag was one of them. And is it true that you did Korag again for those scenes?
Yeah, I had to go back and revoice. They just played down what they had, and I don't know why it was, whether it was old technology and they couldn't quite get the sound quality they wanted, or whether there's some sort of corruption in what they had originally. So yes, I went back in during last year, late the previous year, and re-recorded those lines.
And that wasn't like a 2-for-1, like, hey, you're doing the janitor, you might as well do this. It was like 2 separate complete jobs.
Yeah, completely separate. I was back in Auckland when that happened, and then getting towards the end of the year, they sort of realised they could clean it up.
My understanding for that was so much of the original dialogue from Power Rangers had music in the background that was copywritten, and I don't think Hasbro has the rights for that, so they couldn't dilute it. So you either had to use it with nothing or shoot new audio. Is my understanding of the.
I've heard that too. Did you have a hard time finding the Korag voice after having not done it for so many years and having not seen it either? Like,
no, luckily they could play the tape back for me. And
so when they played it for you, you just kind of were able to get back into it.
I could have heard it and just Korag the Night Wolf. I've always had that thing when I get just as I am the Night Wolf, Korag. I'm here to kill you, Power Rangers.
Meanwhile, we're smiling like idiots. You're like, this is terrible things I'm saying. We're like, yeah.
I'll destroy you. Oh, for sure.
Come on, bring it. Yeah. So, oh, yes, there you go. Yes.
Yeah, I forgot throwing some Korag in the background.
Yeah. Cool.
There he is. That was a good entrance.
Good.
Yeah,
I've seen bits of Korag. Gaz has not yet.
I watched him in Beast Morphers. Is the only place I'm much more familiar with your Gosei character than your Korag character.
Right. Yeah.
But I love this suit.
It was great fun to do too, from the perspective of it. It gave me more longevity and work because it was the first character to actually go through 2 seasons.
Right. Gosei, you mean?
Gosei, yeah. So it was real that angle. Yeah.
Well, so sorry. The other thing, actually, Big Dog, I've been monopolizing. You got a question you want to throw out?
Yeah, it was semi-location based. I know we were talking about different places with different, obviously, Ranger conventions in the States. I don't know if those are some that once they open up, you plan on going to, but is there anywhere in particular you'd love to visit in the States that you haven't yet that, is on the list?
Yeah, I'm not. So just if you throw it, because I'm not sure where the Ranger conventions are. So
Florida and California are the 2 big ones.
Yeah, right. I've got a friend in Florida that I love to go and visit. He runs a golf resort, so combining those 2 things would be great.
Yeah, perfect.
Texas has it a little bit too.
Just would be cool. I've never been to Texas.
No.
I've done Memphis, Tennessee, but I'd love to do Kentucky or something like that, and certainly would love to go to New Orleans.
But
I mean, I'm happy to go wherever the opportunity arises, and because this is a whole phenomenon that we're just not. We have experience of it through through Lord of the Rings and stuff. A lot of the guys going away and doing stuff, and Xena and Hercules sort of kicked that off as well. The fan connection for those, but our awareness of how big Power Rangers is we've only just come to realize it now. So
and it's had it was huge in the 90s, and it stuck around for a while. And I would say, like, I don't know, what do you think, Big Dog? Like 5 years ago, it had like an extra big resurgence.
Yeah, I feel like when they did the big anniversary season where all the different suits were coming back,
which was your season with Gosei.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you were part of the season that brought everybody's attention back. Yeah,
because they had all the other former Rangers around the world.
Yes, yeah, and they brought back all the old actors. Well, not all the old actors, many of the old actors, and and right, because it never went away, but definitely, I think a lot of people, myself included, around that time was like, oh yeah, Power Rangers. That's awesome, and like kind of remembered and got back to it again.
Well, I'm definitely interested in doing conventions. That'd be great, just as an experience. Here you go, Tensei. Yeah.
So how do you know Tensu if you haven't seen it? Because he
was in scenes with me during recording. So
so I got you. Yeah.
So I would be watching this clip, voicing to it.
Gotcha. Okay. The voice of Tensu would that actor. Sorry.
We would see the clip of the scene we're involved with, and
would
so we could to
act
them
with the other actor with Tensu's actor.
Yeah, no. So he would be pre-recorded, or it'd be a guide track.
Gotcha.
So they have the scene that they'd have the actors with their guide tracks. So it's quite often these guys were re-recorded as well, And I would just, you get, because you've got, especially with when you're doing scenes with the action characters, that you have a certain amount of time to get your line into, because they're responding to this blinking head on the wall. So, and there'd be someone reading his lines to them. So I have to, while doing the character as such, also think I've got 15 seconds to squeeze this line in. So, yeah.
Well, did a good job. And you also did from what I understand, you did the voice for the toys as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So that was for Gosei, yeah. So originally the character was cast in America. All right, you've got one. Okay.
So is this like, I'm going to play it. This is you. Nope, doesn't say anything. I got to put a card in.
Yeah.
Got to put a card in. I'll put a Mystic Force card since you did Mystic Force too. There we go.
Mystic Force, red.
You heard that?
Yeah.
That's you, right?
Pretty sure it is. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, because usually the person who's in the movie or the show, they get a sound alike or someone different to do the toys. So I was impressed that they had you do both. That seems like not.
What happened was they had another actor lined up to do it, and they had a falling out, and so very last minute I got recast.
Mm-hmm.
I had auditioned for it, and all of a sudden it was just for Christmas. I remember I got this phone call saying, "Are you available and can you come in tomorrow?" And and so I came in and sort of asked what's going on. They said, "Oh yeah, here's a situation." I was like, "Whoa, does it mean?" And they went, "Yeah, you're going to be doing the character from now on." But the first job was I had to do these pages of Red, Mystic, Force, Power Rangers, and these were just had to record them as individuals because they would then tie them together depending on what the response required in the handset. Yeah, Yellow Ranger.
How long did that take? That session of just saying the random words?
We were probably in there. That's probably the longest session I had to do, actually.
Wow.
It was so, we were probably in there a couple of hours, whereas the rest of Gosei's stuff compared to Korag, the rest of Gosei's stuff, I think the longest I was in there was maybe 45 minutes. And because it's the Rangers that are the key characters, and so you're supplying the subtext and information and motivation and structure order. Insert your power card, and so that's only limited within the story. So even with Korag, he had fairly limited dialogue, and it was turning up basically telling him, "I'm going to kick your ass and let's go for it." And then the rest of the time, you'd probably have I might only have like 12 sort of dialogue cues, and then for the rest of it, I would have, and we would get those done first because the rest of it would kill my voice, and we'd do 3 hours of fight action noises. So doing 3 hours just strips your voice. So we had a minimum call that we were paid for of 4 hours, and with Korag I was in there for 4 hours every time, and doing 1 or 2, 3 episodes. Gosei, as I say, I was in there for 45 minutes and still got my 4 hours. So
that was the thing. They front loaded it. So you had Korag, and then like, you know what? Gosei, we're going to give you a little bit more time.
A little bit of payback. It was like, thank you very much. So,
well, that kind of dovetails into a question. Another question we had from Matt Kendall Clare, viewer, says, you voice a lot of notable villains such as Korag, Omni, Daishi, etc. Do you purposely go for the villain auditions, or was that just a coincidence, happy accident that they're mostly villains?
It's because the majority of all of voiceover characters tend to be the villainous characters.
Mm-hmm.
Gosei was a bit of a unique one because Gosei was usually played by a mentor at the high school or sort of their live character previously. And so then you got the Gosei and Tensu sort of, there was a bit of a step back. Well, not a step back, but it was just a change. Change of.
Well, it was, because I think they were trying to echo what they had in the very first season with Zordon and Alpha 5.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I didn't even realize the connection to Zordon. So it was like, what? Because people started asking me about Zordon. I was like,
well, I think not you. I think your character was like essentially his apprentice, is I think how they,
Yeah. Found that out since.
Yeah. You would think they would tell you that, even if you're not into Power Rangers, just as an actor, that like there was a mentor before you, and you're like, seems like that would help you, you know? No.
Written in there something of Zordon, but it may well have been in the first description, but the whole thing of who Zordon was certainly wasn't explained to me at all. But it doesn't matter. It's all part of the fun of it. We do our own things with it anyway. I was a bit upset that Bryan Cranston didn't step back and say, no, I think Jeff needs to be the Zordon. But never mind.
Yeah, he needed the work, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
the big month to finish Breaking Bad. So
yeah, I mean,
on the terms of it.
yeah, now from the middle so long ago that. While we're on GoSave for a second, I want to throw this up here. This is something they mentioned there. There's a simple explanation for that. Do you get that all the time now when people talk about?
I only heard about that during the last couple of interviews,
right?
I found that hilarious. There is a simple explanation for that. I'm just not going to tell you. So, yeah.
I love it. It's funny because I think there are some people that it really annoys them, but I think it's hilarious because, like, how do you explain it? I don't know, whatever. And to the point where I think if you start doing shows, like a lot of actors will have their own merchandise of like a catchphrase.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
There's simple. That would be the one for you. That would be it.
Yeah, and you can see it. And I can't. You don't know what I don't know what to put it down to. Whether it's just like a nice cliffhanger, but really there is. Oh, one day it'll be explained.
Yeah.
It hasn't. And another way you can look at it, go, that's really lazy writing. Why didn't they explain it? But I think either way, it's had a good impact because people are still talking about it. So
absolutely, that's
right. Yeah.
If nothing else from 2 seasons, they will always remember that line.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going to a convention one day and having someone step up and ask a question, and then I'll just pick a random one that I just feel like being
such a good idea.
Explanation for that.
That'll go over. Everyone will cheer. Yeah, everyone will cheer. That'd be amazing.
You have to do it right before a photo op. So they ask you the question, you say it, and then there's an explanation, and then just instantly just pose.
Yeah, very good.
Let me see if we got any other. We're going for a while. I don't want to keep it too long.
No, that's right.
Okay. Big Dog, you got another question loaded and ready to go?
Kind of off topic of the acting stuff. I know that just based off this interview, you were saying that you're a big fan of golf. Is there anywhere locally that you like to go, especially after you're done with the Gosei, or were done with the Gosei times early, that you'd maybe hit the course after an audio session?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a member of a golf course in Auckland called the Royal Auckland and Grange Golf Club, and so play there regularly. But the majority of the work I've done for the last 20 odd years is corporate entertainment. So I tend to travel the country and overseas a lot, emceeing conferences and awards nights and product launches and conventions, sort of things. And so my golf clubs are always with me. And
nice.
Driving around, and I'm doing it a lot at the moment. I'm driving around New Zealand at the moment to stay away from Auckland when it was locked down for a few weeks recently for COVID. Mm-hmm. I happened to be on the road, and I just stayed on the road. And so I've been playing at courses all over the country. I've just come out of Queenstown from a weekend in Queenstown, which is sort of one of our tourist venues. But like Aspen, it's the mountains and skiing and lakes area. But it's got world-class golf courses, so I played twice down there. I'm going back there in another 2 weeks for another golf tournament. So yes, my golf clubs are always with me, traveling the country. But as I say, I play overseas. I travelled to the 2019 before my last trips away, before we all got closed down. I went to Ireland and the UK, and I went to the Open Championship in Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And I played all around Ireland and England. And then I also went to Malaysia for 2 weeks and played all around Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia and Borneo. So the clubs definitely tend to drive my life as opposed to anything else. I think I work to play golf as opposed to the other way around.
There you go.
Well, another reason to come to California is we got Pebble Beach.
Yeah, because I've never had the opportunity. I had my clubs with me when I was in San Fran, and I just didn't have a chance to get down to play. So I've never actually played in the States. Even when I went over in 2015, I tried to get a game in Las Vegas, and they just they couldn't make it happen. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Now you have to come, because if golf determines where you go, there you go.
And I'm not really looking forward to doing conventions when I can. Once things get sorted out, we've got the vaccine rolling out over here at the moment. So hopefully, we get ourselves secure fairly shortly, and we're able to let other people come into the country who have done the same. And once other countries sort of get their systems sorted out and get their communities on the same sort of thought pattern, I think everywhere we're even having it now with the naysayers and the conspiracists sort of saying, it's got microchips and Bill Gates is this. Like, so once we got a majority of people safe and we're all safe, then the travel thing is going to be good, and I'll be first in line to come over and do some. But I'm an asthmatic, so I'm slightly health compromised with COVID. Right. If I've got amongst it, so just have to be cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny. You mentioned how you do all these events now, corporate events and stuff. I saw that on your page because not as much anymore, but I used to do I do caricatures. And so I would be at a lot of those corporate events, and I also saw that you sing a lot of Elvis songs, and a few times I was an Elvis impersonator, and I used to do improv, and I'm like, a lot of my past is similar to his, like I don't still do that stuff, but like a lot of similar. Yeah.
I still do Elvis. I only sang at a wedding 2 weeks ago. A gay couple got married over here that my friend was celebrant at, and they wanted to get married in Las Vegas. Okay. And the two girls were talking to my friend about it, and she said, well, you can't go to Vegas, but I can bring Vegas to you. And she hooked me up with them, so I went around to their house after they had the ceremony in the afternoon. Then I went to their house that night, and I sang about half an hour of Elvis songs for them, and the full jumpsuit. You do the full jumpsuit? That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, it was awesome. It was a suit I had made about 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. Right. A little on the cuddly side now. It's more like a wetsuit. Hey, they wanted that, so I just swallow your pride and get on it. They enjoyed the heck. Yeah.
I didn't do it a lot, and I'm not much of a singer. But what's funny is the few times I did it, I learned I could play guitar and sing a little bit, Right. And so, let me figure out a couple Hound Dog and a couple easy songs. And when I got there, they're like, oh, we don't want you to sing. We just want you to like greet guests. And like, so I was sort of like acting as Elvis, but I did all the prep work, and I'm like, oh, and I hadn't really done a lot of how do you act like Elvis, because I thought I was going to be singing. So I was hey, I'm Elvis. Like, I didn't know what to say.
Very much,
yeah, but like I'd done my homework in the absolute wrong direction.
Yeah, well, I do an annual comp. So when I came over in 2015, it was my 50th birthday present to myself. I went to New York for my birthday and for New Year, and then I went down to Memphis for Elvis's 80th birthday at Graceland, and
nice
videos and stuff like that. And then I went to Vegas, and I went to a karaoke bar there and sang Elvis. But what I've been doing on the birthday traditionally is in the Coromandel in New Zealand, which is this beautiful beach, coastline, fishing community. This town called Papaaroha. Well, it's not even a town. It's literally a campsite right on the beach. Go fishing. I've been there on Elvis's birthday, January 8th, every year for the last 12 years, and done an Elvis birthday concert at the holiday camp. And so I get up. The boys put up a trailer, turn it into a stage. I put up my little sound system. All the families come out with the kids. They get dressed up in unit costumes and leis and Hawaiian shirts, or the full Elvis suits, or the girls do their hair, and the babies come out all dressed up in suits and stuff. It's hilarious. And then I sing for like 2 or 3 hours doing Elvis, and they dance. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's the Pahutakawa tree, which is a New Zealand native tree. We call it our Christmas tree, New Zealand Christmas tree. Beautiful red flowers on it. And they sit underneath these huge trees and drink and eat and dance to Elvis for 2 or 3 hours. So it's a great fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'd go to that.
We did on Facebook a few years back, and everyone was like, wow.
What's your favorite Elvis song to sing when you do karaoke for it?
So my karaoke burn is well, it wasn't actually an album. The first one I used to do is It's Only Make Believe, which is Elvis did it, but it was actually Conway Twitty that first made it famous. My big number now is the one from 68 Special that he closed, 68 Special, If I Can Dream. It's a big ballad, sort of a gospel ballad. And yeah, that's my favorite number to hit, because it's just even today, it's just such an amazing message for the world. There's got to be peace there. There must be peace and understanding out there, and it's a message that needs to be reinforced. And I thought it was just such a strong song for him to get commissioned and put in front of people in a time of 1968 with all the racial tensions that were going on. So I think it's just a great anthem for peace and understanding, as the lyrics say. And when it comes to others, I mean, I have great fun with Viva Las Vegas and Suspicious Minds, etc. And yeah, there's so many because I just as I say, I sing for 2.5, 3 hours. You can fit a lot of Elvis songs in the 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, but you're also listing the hard ones. Like you're not saying Hound Dog or Jailhouse Rock. You're like these are the ones have to know how to sing too. Like yeah.
I get people from the crowd to come up and sing those ones.
Oh, no, there you go. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we, Big Dog? Why don't we each do one more question and then we'll wrap up and let Geoffrey give his plugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, all right. Why don't you go and I'll do the last one.
Yeah. So I know we've talked about conventions a little bit. Is there? I know you've mentioned in the past you haven't seen most of the toys or any of the props or things like that, but just based on kind of your imagination from the booth, is there one thing that you're looking forward to having somebody bring to your booth someday and for you to sign, just be like, oh man, this is what it looks like, or this is, that toy or what have you?
There's probably two of them. Probably one to be whether there is, I don't even know if there is a Korag doll or some sort of figurine. And
I think
then
might have one in his hand right now.
I had him ready just in case.
Oh, wow, look at that. Cool.
Yeah.
I've been sent a card, so yeah, and I'd be happy. I wouldn't want to sign your figurine; that might devalue it. But also the handset, the Gosa handset was like quite unique. I saw when I was in Dubai a few years ago, I walked into one of their malls, and they had a meter high Red Ranger, and I was like, seriously?
Oh yeah.
3 foot tall. I was like, wow. And it was big in Dubai, of course. It was really expensive, so I didn't go on that. But yeah, again, as I say, we just don't get that stuff there because it's not part of the culture. So we just haven't seen any of the merchandise.
Right. Let me see here.
There's nothing like. Is there Korag undies or anything, or bikinis, or
not that I'm aware of? No,
not.
maybe on Etsy or something like that. Maybe
like fan made unofficial stuff, but he definitely gets a lot of love. He's a fan favorite villain for sure. And as is Daishi, although like as you said, you're one aspect of Daishi. So the version you are, I don't think got a figure. There's the other version got a figure, but as far as I know, I could be wrong. There might be a monster vinyl out there somewhere, but.
I'll look a bit more into my activity within Daishi because it's as I say, I haven't been able to follow the full arc of that character from its beginnings to ends, and so I know now that I'm a part of that. But what the rest of it is a bit foreign to me. So I feel like I'm sort of undervaluing it to fans when they ask because I don't have enough information to talk knowledgeably on it.
Well, if you get this part that you auditioned for today, you need to take notes and take mental pictures so that when people ask you, you're like, okay, here's everything I can tell you. Like,
yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah, majority of Gosei even was the most recent. Korag was 10 years ago, and Daishi was even further ago, 15 years ago. My first contact was nearly 20 years ago. There's a lot of water under the bridge since those. So the memory does struggle sometimes with all the different characters and bits, and not just Power Rangers once, just because I'm doing all sorts of projects. So,
you were learning 2 plays at this. You were doing a play and learning a play for 9 years. I mean, that's gonna. You got to be able to purge to be able to put in new. Absolutely.
But it all comes back to rugby. That's what matters.
All comes back to rugby.
Well, literally, that's what I do. I purge. When I finish a production, within a week, I probably wouldn't be able to quote you dialogue from it. If I've done a musical or whatever, I did Sound of Music a few years back. I can't remember the words to Edelweiss, and it's a really simple song. I can't remember any dialogue. It's just what you do. You do what you need to for the time, and then your mind does this almost like what was the name of that toy that you used to write stuff on and then you can wipe it.
The Etch-a-Sketch.
It's literally my brain is like just goes. See you later.
But I mean, if that allows you to do what you do, then that's a good quality to have. Yeah.
Reboot to things.
Okay, so I don't see anything else in chat. I'm going to end with the same. Now, this question might be difficult for you. This is the question I ask every guest, and because of your limited knowledge of Power Rangers. But what I always say is Red Rangers are typically the leaders, and I say, who do you think is the best Red Ranger? And you could base that on an actor that you like or the character, suit, anything. Now, you might know one Red Ranger. Any Red Ranger you want to pick as the best Red Ranger for whatever criteria. Could you even do that?
Was Pua a Red Ranger?
Was who?
Was Pua Magasiva a Red Ranger?
Yes, in Ninja Storm. Yeah.
I'm going for Pua because he's my bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that makes sense. You got the hometown hero. You got to go for that. I will say, no disrespect, but you're wrong. Casey from Jungle Fury is the best Red Ranger. As you know, a lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people have the wrong opinion, and that's not your fault. It's just.
Yeah, I haven't not watched it, but yeah, no. I mean, Pua was a long-time friend. I knew his brother before Pua. He's the younger brother. Robbie is a long-time friend of mine from Wellington days. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of shows within the Samoan community, and a lot of support and help from those guys. And so, the sad situation involving Pua was, heartbreaking for everybody because he was an extraordinary talent. And, getting the chance he got on Power Rangers was a real stepping stone for him. And it's just sad that he didn't have that confidence in himself to move forward.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times talent and issues go together like that for some reason.
Yeah,
all right. Well, I'll ask anyway, because do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about? Because I know a lot of times you can't say what's going on. Anything you want to promote or discuss?
Yeah. So, I probably can now say something because at the time I couldn't. Because I know it's coming to Netflix shortly. So but I'm not even sure what it's going to be called. It was working title for it with us was Sweet Tooth. So
is it based on a comic book?
Yeah, a graphic novel. Yeah. So,
okay, I've heard of Sweet Tooth. Yeah,
I am very familiar with Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah. So there's it's coming to Netflix the next couple of months. So I just did some ADR for it about month and a half ago, 2 months, and the producer said it's going to be on Netflix, I think in June. So yeah,
that's big news. That's cool. Like whatever you said, good for you. You're doing work. We'll send people there. But that, like, again, it's like, oh, I read comics. I know Sweet Tooth. Great, awesome. That's a known property. That's pretty awesome that you got to do that.
And I'm just trying to think if there's any other sort of. I just did this Texan thing it's set in Texas, but they filmed it in New Zealand. But it doesn't have a working title, so I can't really tell you much about that one. Okay. Yeah. But that will be, and I think that might even be a feature. It's not a series. Sweet Tooth's a series that's being done, so they're filming the whole thing here.
Which makes sense again because of the serialized story. That's great.
Yeah. And that's rolling through here for a couple of years. Apparently, we just heard that they've reconfirmed that they're coming back to continue on with the story, so which is great. Awesome. I mean, New Zealand, because of COVID, New Zealand is. There's a sad uptake for us. Is a lot of American productions are coming here because they can't work fully in America,
right? Sure.
Because of because of the social distancing restrictions.
Well, especially because so much is done in California, and we're in California, and we're like more locked down than anybody. So it's
right. So they're coming here to do it. Now they're bringing in key crew, and then they're populating them with New Zealand actors and producers and cameramen, etc. So. We've got the Amazon Prime production, which I think they've just started talking about online now, which has been done, which is sort of based on. It's not Lord of the Rings, but it's based on style stories. Right. It's sort of a prequel, centuries prequel.
Is it based on what was it, the Silmarillion?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, it's sort of setting up. There are some of the characters that you're familiar with, that are very old ancient characters are going to be included, but it's centuries before Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. So
gotcha. So maybe we see Gandalf as a young man.
Yeah, a little bit like that, but it's not based on any Tolkien writings. I don't think it's just done in his style. So that I think there's reimagining. Yeah, so that's in New Zealand. The 3 Avatar movies have just finished over here. They're in post-production now. There's, as I say, the Sweet Tooth is being done there. So there's a real. I think we're as full as we can be because, of course, we're working on the number of production staff and things we have. So, productions are wanting to come in here to do more, but they just can't populate them with staff at the moment. So, yeah.
Right. Well, that's good for you guys.
Yeah, good problem to have.
Yeah. So, as far as any social media, I know you're on like Instagram, and if you play anything you want to shout out to let people know where to find you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's my fan page on Facebook. I'm old, so that's my main go.
Right.
Instagram, I'm definitely on Instagram. I'm not an overly active user of Instagram. I've got a couple of sites on Facebook. So there's my personal one, which doesn't have any stuff, and I've got a fan page on there. So if you see a couple of profiles, I'm under Geoffrey Dolan. Go to the fan one.
The fan ones would have a picture of you as in one of your roles, I'm assuming, as opposed to just like with your family. It'd be a good way to tell the difference.
I think my cover photos are a bit similar. I've just changed out the cover photo for. If you see a photograph that's me, sort of as a headshot, that's the fan page. The other one I've changed out is me. Just at a dinner I was at on Saturday night. Actually, I'll just change the profile picture. So that's not me. I don't go to the one that's got Marilyn Monroe in the background. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've got a YouTube channel, which I produced a whole pile of clips during COVID last year, based on my character from the Almighty Johnsons. From
that's
Derek.
On your Instagram too, right? Because that's where I saw those.
Yeah, I was putting them up on Instagram as well, but the whole series is up on YouTube as well. So yeah.
And what's the name of the YouTube channel?
Geoffrey Dolan, as far as Jeff Dolan.
Okay, because I know your Instagram was something slightly different. Like I can't remember. Big Pain. There you go. Okay, what's the story? Is there a story there?
Big Cane. It's the rugby.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I told you, it all comes back to rugby.
Back to rugby.
My rugby team over here in the main competition in New Zealand are the Hurricanes, or we just call them the Canes. So I'm Big Cane. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice.
The other thing, I don't know. Again, when I watched the other interview, you talked about you were doing autograph photos. Are you still doing that? Yeah.
So if you go on the fan page and communicate with me through that, I can photograph on there. And I think when we initially started doing them, they were like $50, but we've sort of sitting back a bit further now, sort of going with postage and everything. Like I'm happy if people want to do that. We can communicate via a messenger or whatever, or on the fan page, and sort of $35 US plus postage, and I'll personalize them and sign them, and we can just.
And this is the photo I'm showing. Is this what they would get?
That's it. Yeah. So it's the three main characters plus my Derek character in the bottom there from the Almighty Johnsons. Nice. And that's the photograph you see on my fan page in the middle. So yeah. Perfect. Cool, man. Yeah. Put you back. All right. So I think that's it. Unless you got anything else, Big Dog, I'll check chat real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything.
That's it. Thank you so much again for taking the time with us today. It's been awesome to find out so much more than many people had known before today. So I loved hearing all those rugby stories. Those are great.
Yeah, I hope we did a good job not asking the same questions you always get.
That's right. I don't mind. And I know sometimes you guys have different channels of people that listen to your slot, and the other guys have different ones. So you're always going to it's because there's a new audience all the time. So that's cool.
There you go. If we didn't ask you about Korag and Go Say, people would be like, what are you doing? Why, come on.
But thanks for putting up with my slight technical issues at the start as well. Much appreciated.
No worries.
You're doing us a favor, man. Don't worry about it.
You got nothing on me. I'm the king of technical issues here. So that was small potatoes.
All right. Well, let's say goodbye to the audience, and I'll end the live broadcast. So everybody watching, thanks so much. And remember, I'm Gazbot.
Big Dog.
Geoffrey.
I'm look forward to seeing you in the future.
Same to you, and to the power. See you guys later.
Bye now. Hi, everybody. Jeff Dolan here. A pleasure being here with Action Activate and talking to the team. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. We look forward to maybe seeing in the future and say our world becomes a more stable place. But in the meantime, there's only one thing to say. It's morphing time. Yeah.